Greetings. This is Purusha, your guide through the art of traveling through time, or as I affectionately call it, Stargate trekking. Like always, the experience I'm about to relate to you is quite something. There's lots of jewels for you for contemplation and practice. Here we go. I had been listening to the audio version of Book 1 of Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East, the seminal volumes of books by Baird T. Spalding from, about 100 years ago. I've read the books more than once, but as I was listening, I realized all you really need to know is in Book 1, and I mean the ultimate, simple spiritual truths. And it's inspired in me a passionate desire to be where these masters are, not necessarily physically in the Himalayas, though visiting will always be wonderful, but spiritually, mystically, with siddha powers in full bloom. Siddha powers are the hallmark of a very advanced master. They are powers like levitation and teleportation and shape-shifting and manifesting objects in thin air. Now these things seem quite fantastic, but we actually do have the power to manifest such powers. It's just a shame that so few people believe this to be so, that so few people believe in themselves enough to help them get there. Because it really does take thought, it really does take belief in order to do any great thing in this world. The problem is this world is programmed to believe that we can't do any of those things, that those masters of the Himalayas, the masters of the Far East, are anomalies, when instead, truly, they are our examples. Why else would they be there doing the things they do? And why else would these books have been written documenting the outrageous miracles they performed? But anyway, let's move on. I usually don't choose a destination to travel to. Most of the time, I ask my Merkaba vehicle and my Oversoul to guide me to wherever is right for me in the moment. But on this night, I purposely chose to go to the Himalayas. It was very late, and on my intention, a blue and green stargate appeared before me to take me there. I was excited. My mind went into action, unfortunately, and I had to work to bring it back to a state of calm. But once I did, I just waited, sort of hovering, waiting in a serene pause. This was after I had gone through the blue and green stargate. So basically, I'm just hovering there in nothing until I am spontaneously transported to the next so-called place. So I next found myself high in the mountains of the Himalayas on a stone veranda that was so high up the clouds were at eye level. A man came around the corner of a wall and greeted me. He was amazingly beautiful, 50-ish looking, very beautiful, with mid-length white hair and a white sleeveless shirt which revealed bronze, very muscled arms. He was also wearing loose white pants. His bronze skin showed off his beautiful white hair and clothing. He was very friendly, very warm to me. He sat on a granite or stone chair while I sat facing him, and I asked him point blank how to get from where I am in my spiritual development to where he is in his. And then, wouldn't you know, I fell asleep. That happens sometimes, especially if it's very late at night, so I don't often travel when it's very late. But when I woke up in the morning, the connection was still open. I didn't need to reestablish a stargate or travel anywhere. I was already there, and we picked up right where we left off. The Master told me that all the practices I had been performing when I was in a spiritual group were adjuncts. He said they are peripheral practices. They do assist to raise your vibratory frequency, but mainly they are devices to help keep you focused. They should not be viewed as the ways and the means to get there. They are complementary to help sharpen focus and to uplift frequency when it has been lowered. I just recently received in another travel experience that the point comes when you so embrace your spirit, your Holy Spirit. You are so the master. You don't need yogic practices. You're just fully and completely there. But back to what the Master told me. He said, the core essence of who you are knows all things and knows the love that is the bedrock of high vibratory frequency and siddha powers like teleportation or manifesting out of thin air. Everyone has this knowing. And then he had me summon forth my essence. I say essence with a capital E. The essence that has always been there, but has just been veiled to varying degrees. He instructed me to expand this essence and have it encompass my entire being, and then to declare it permanent. In other words, I am consciously enveloped within my Great Spirit, and it is my spirit that commands and directs my life. Together, we briefly looked at an experience I had lived with a spiritual group of people in the not too distant past. Everyone meant well, but we just could not achieve harmony as a group. Ego within us was the great saboteur. The Master pointed out that immersing yourself in nature, in the flora and fauna and reveling in it, I do that a lot, is grand for feeling and experiencing oneness with all of creation, but it is perhaps a bit easier there because flora just unconditionally loves you whether you love it or not. At the same time, even nature will mirror back to you who you are displaying yourself to be. You'll notice that an animal will be fearful of you, or a plant may wither and die. And in the group of spiritual brothers and sisters I was in, we certainly did mirror back to each other, and it so often wasn't very pretty at all. But the Master told me it was the experience it was, and now there are lots of people all around me every day to love, and these same people have the potential to present to me the same tests or mirrors that I received back in the group. So you see, it's not really about anyone else. It's all about me. It's all about you who are listening to me in this moment. That's the only person we can control, for lack of a better word. Whenever ego is present, there is always the stargate of opportunity to see beyond to the truth, and that truth is love. Still with the Master, my mind went for a moment. It drifted off for a moment to a man I had noticed in the gym a day previous. He was a small man, going very aggressively for really big weights. He was monopolizing equipment for long periods of time. He had lots of tattoos, and it was difficult to determine his age. I wasn't proud of all the observations and assumptions my mind was furtively making about him in the gym. And then I heard the Master say this: when you can just love that man and accept him as he is, fully and completely, without judgment or assumption, now you know how to love. The Master pointed out to me that while there are many classrooms people flock to, as they are told these are necessary to attend in order to evolve and to make their grand ascension, the classroom is in the living of life. The formal classrooms can never teach you the magnitude of lessons you receive in the course of life and living. I was then invited to return here for dialogue, and he advised me that having dominion over my vibratory frequency, to be able to raise and lower it at will for various purposes, will come to me in due time. I faded away from the Master's sight, saying over and over to myself, so be it, so be it, so be it, so be it. So I went through my day, and I went to bed the next night. And the next morning on awakening, I had the distinct feeling I really went somewhere during the night. I had the Masters of the Himalayas strong in my consciousness once again. So I went back to the stone veranda in the clouds through the blue and green stargate, and I was received by the very same Master who told me this: regarding the universal energy which is everywhere and which we can utilize to heat, cool, and light our homes and run devices, you align with it, not manipulate it. Summon it to you. Align with it. This must be a relationship of oneness, a symbiosis between you and it. Once you come to be able to work with it in this way, when you are able to utilize this energy in your fields efficiently because you are one with it, you will never fall again. He was referring to some physical falls I had had, and in retrospect, only because I was not truly in my body. I had been preoccupied with third-dimensional cares that absolutely were not even worth my worry. He continued, "You will always be lifted up, caressed, and carried by it. First," he said, "it takes a realization that this is so, and then it requires alignment with it. It is an attractive energy. It attracts. It flows from without to within and within to without symbiotically. You are cycling the ifata energy that is in your energy field. It is not only attractive, it is creative. This is a first step that shall lead to others. When working with your ifata energy, if you go into doubt, you must immediately declare and stand in your I am presence. You must strengthen your neural pathways into power and confidence, knowing and isness. You must recondition these neural pathways, for self-doubt has too long been the way. Now become very, very aware of this ipata energy field around you and how it envelops you always. It will cause negative influences and people to bounce away from you. Practice. Practice turning off the lights and air conditioning and then summoning the divine energy, the ifata, to go into motion. Feel it as part of you and not just outside of you. You have already been performing a similar practice when you bubble yourself away from the medical establishment and negative influences of sickness, age, and death, where you are in this world but not of it. And you are doing that successfully. Now apply what you know to the rest. Now there were more entities present, I felt, and then I eventually saw, than the one master, and they blessed me to assist me to well utilize this ifata energy that is available to all of us all of the time. It is everywhere alive, waiting to be utilized, yet it is rarely recognized. I was also told this same energy can run automobiles, even airplanes, everything. I was told this first step, learning to efficiently utilize this universal energy, leads to all other siddha powers in a natural progression. This is the work I was told. Command it deliberately. Eventually, you will merely think it, and your home or other environment will be in a stasis of temperature and light as you desire. The most challenging part of the work, I was told, is belief in self. This is the part most don't want to do, to believe in self. And they said this emphatically. Then they fall by the wayside. It seems monumental, or as a mountain they cannot climb only because of mental programming and laziness. The work is not laborious. It only requires steadfastness grounded in belief and in knowing yourself as Lord, God, Goddess. You carry this field of energy around with you wherever you are. They then said to me, by your intention and decree, activate it, electrify it. And right then and there, I took some moments to do all that they told me to do. You already do this very often, they said, without even realizing it. Become aware. At this point, I began to feel slightly sick. The energy created from what I was doing was really intense, and I had become incredibly altered. I realize it's something that I'll get used to, and it doesn't happen in every travel. In fact, it rarely ever happens. I have really only just become more aware of it in this one particular travel. I then realized how beneficial it is to my journey at this time that I'm pretty much without distractions. And there's also no one in my life telling me or insinuating to me that I cannot do these things. Next, I heard the Master say, by learning to work with this energy, to bend and refract it to your will, Mundane things like preparing food or getting a haircut in the usual way will no longer be necessary. So you see how it leads to all other powers. Still feeling sick, so altered, all I wanted to do was lay down. I had become also very sleepy. And I laid down to return to my other, more worldly consciousness. I began to feel better as I allowed the energies of this teaching to settle in. And as I drifted off to dozing, I heard the Master say, "You will animate your surroundings like we do. Summon the energy into action." Fini. What's so amazing is the travel I so happened to choose for you today happened exactly 1 year ago to the day. I'm so glad I chose it because I realize there is a lot in this teaching that I am doing, but a lot I haven't been doing. So I'm so grateful to have created this reminder so spontaneously. My hope is that this real-life story and podcast bless you and increase you. If you have questions, feel free to contact me by sending me an email to stargatetrekking@proton.me. Until the next cast, I am Purusha. Peace.